5 affordable designer fragrances that smell more expensive than they actually cost. Hello friends, I'm George, the nice smelling gentleman. Welcome back to the channel guys, I hope that all of you are doing well. It's time for your daily dose of some fragrance content, and today I'll be talking about cheap designer fragrances that actually smell quite a bit more expensive than they cost. In today's video I've included 5 such fragrances, and the first one that I'm going to show you is a very well-known fragrance in the fragrance community. It comes from the brand of Missoni and it's called Missoni Wave. And this is for those of you who like a fresh scent, something that smells fresh. A lot of people compare Missoni Wave to fragrances like Chanel Allure Homme Sport and Versace Per Homme, and I can safely say that this indeed smells quite a bit those two famous designer fragrances that are a little bit more expensive. Versace Per Homme is a little bit more expensive than Missoni Wave, and the Chanel fragrance of course is quite a bit more expensive coming from a brand like Chanel. Missoni is a fresh fragrance. If you're not familiar with the original scents that this smells similar to, this is a very nice freshie that has some aquatic notes. It has a bit of citruses. You get a hint of greenness with this one, as well some aromatic notes like the note of lavender, and you also get a bit of sweetness on the dry down. It's a very easy to wear fragrance that is perfectly suited for the warmer months of the year, but the reality is that fresh fragrances can be worn pretty much throughout the year if you wish so. Performance is decent, projection is decent, you get a magnetic cap. I've always liked the design of the Missoni fragrances, this one and the other one called Parfum, which is yet another nice cheapie that smells more expensive than it costs. And at least around here this can usually be found for a very reasonable price, something like 25 to 30 euros. The next one that I've included in today's video comes from the brand of Lapidus, and it's called Poker Face. And this is an interesting fragrance that I had to chase for quite a while. This one again doesn't feel like something super similar to an original scent, but definitely smells in the same vein as something like YSL La Nuit de l'Homme. And that was the main reason why I chased this fragrance, and you know, at about a year and a half I was able to get my hands on a bottle of this fragrance. At least around here this can be pretty tough to find, but I managed to snag a bottle. I think this is also a tester bottle as well. So basically this smells like La Nuit de l'Homme, but with a bit of powderness and a bit more sweetness added to it. Feels a little bit less woody than the original fragrance, a little bit less aromatic. This relies on a little bit more sweetness and a little bit more powderness, but in there actually smells quite similar to La Nuit de l'Homme. So this is basically for those of you who like the original fragrance from YSL but want something a lot cheaper to daily drive. Performance is pretty decent, it's on par with the current formulations of YSL La Nuit de l'Homme. Projection is a bit more on the moderate side, a bit more on the softer side, just like the original fragrance. And all around this actually is a very nicely done scent, as long as you can find it and as long as you like the OG you know, La Nuit de l'Homme. If you do, I think Poker Face is a nice designer alternative to the original fragrance from YSL. The next affordable designer fragrance that I've included in today's video comes from the brand of Halloween, and it's called Halloween Men Shot. And this is a very nicely done cheapie. In fact, this brand has quite a few good scents that are very affordable, but this is probably my most favorite one out of the brand. Now this in a way smells similar to Poker Face from Lapidus because this bears some similarities to YSL La Nuit de l'Homme, just like you know, Poker Face, but this is at the same time quite a bit different. I personally find this one to smell a little bit closer to Mont Blanc Legend Night. It's a very interesting fragrance that has a bit of spiciness, it has a bit of powderness. You get some sweetness with this one, some vanillic sweetness, a bit of a leather note on the dry down, and also an interesting note here is a boozy note. That's the note of daiquiri, which is a very nice and interesting addition to the scent of Halloween Men Shot. I really like this one. It smells quite powdery on my skin personally. There's an iris note in here, which brings some similarities to fragrances like Dior Homme Intense and Valentino Uomo Intense as well. And personally on my skin this also has always been a very good performer. Now nothing spectacular when it comes to performance, but still a very decently performing scent that's been giving me 7 to 8 hours of performance easily. And the best thing about all fragrances from this brand is the fact that they're very affordable. The next designer cheapie that I've included in today's video comes from the brand of Mauboussin, and it's called Star for Men, and this is one of the latest designer cheapies that I've added to my collection. This is a very interestingly done fragrance that smells in a way similar to Parfum de Marly's Layton. It's not a straight up clone of Layton though, it's more something done in a similar style, but this one smells really nice and actually surprised me quite a bit with its quality and its scent profile. This is like a more woodier version of Layton. You don't get that greenness, that geranium note that you get with Layton. You don't get most of the sweetness that you get out of Layton. This feels slightly more spicy and quite a bit more woody than Layton itself. You still get a bit of fruity sweetness, you still get a bit of vanillic sweetness, but this has pretty much the woodiness ramped up compared to Layton. But actually smells surprisingly nice, and it's a surprisingly interesting take on the Layton DNA. Performance is more on the moderate side from my testing so far. I've had this for about a month and a half now and at this point, and performance is not great, but at the same time this is very cheap. I personally got my bottle, which was a bundle with an addition of a 20 milliliter travel size bottle plus a shower gel, and all that I paid about 22 euros. So it's a very cheap fragrance, and for that amount of money you're actually getting a very interesting fragrance, again like a more woodier, slightly less sweet version of Layton. And this definitely smells a lot more expensive than it actually costs, and it's been a very nice cheap addition to my collection. Star for Men from Mauboussin. And the last fragrance that I've included in today's video comes from the brand of Jacques Bogart, and it's called Bogart per Homme. And this is a very classic designer cheapie. I really like the scent of this fragrance. And this is a very interesting scent that a lot of people say that was the actual inspiration for such great scents like Xerjov's Naxos and the Amen Pure Havane. This smells quite similar to those, but you don't get the tobacco note that you'll get with those other a lot more expensive fragrances. Other than that, this really smells quite similar. The aromaticness of this fragrance is very similar to what you get with Pure Havane, and especially with Naxos in my opinion. This captures the aromatic nature of Naxos, the woodiness, that slight bit of powderness that you get out of Naxos. What you won't get with this one compared to Naxos is the tobacco note and the added sweetness that you get with Naxos itself. But this really smells very nice. You know, it's aromatic, it's slightly fresh, it's a bit powdery, there's some floral notes with this one, there's some musks, some woods, a hint of sweetness. This really smells very nice, smells very masculine, smells very classic, a bit old school, and also has a bit of a soapy vibe. But I've always liked, you know, Bogart per Homme from Jacques Bogart, and I do think that this is a great cheapie that smells a lot more expensive than it actually costs, and the whole scent profile is very interesting, and I really do think that this is a very nice cheap gem from the brand of Jacques Bogart. So guys, in today's video I showed you 5 cheap designer fragrances that smell more expensive than they actually cost. I hope that you found this video interesting to watch. If you did, give it a like, and I also hope that you're going to join me tomorrow for your daily dose of some fragrance content. And until then, stay safe and bye bye.